Hello and a very warm welcome to Accenture Presents ETStudios Digital Campus in association with ETCIO. Now we at ET are thrilled to bring you this series, which offers a 360-degree perspective on all the innovations that are required to build a future digital society. On this very exciting episode, we are going to take a sneak peek into the Metaverse future. Now, the Metaverse presents tremendous opportunity in every aspect of life and business in the near future. It brings together the collaboration in a virtual, augmented, and physical world. So in this episode, we will deep dive into all the possibilities that organizations have when it comes to working with the Metaverse to bring together innovation and technology. Without further ado, I'd like to very warmly welcome our guest today, Praveen Srikhande, Chief Digital and Information Officer, Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail Limited. Welcome, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Zaina. Nice to be here.
You too. And Manish Gupta, Managing Director and Lead Products, Accenture India.
Hi.
Welcome. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're really going to deep dive into the Metaverse, the way in which organizations are leveraging it, and how it can sort of be viewed as an intersection between technology and innovation moving forward. So Manish, I'd like to start with you. According to one of Accenture's recent reports, the Business Trends report, it says that executives around the world are in fact expecting that the revenue generated through Metaverse is going to be at around 4% in the next few years. So keeping in mind these kind of analysis and predictive statistics, where would you say the Metaverse stands in terms of the true potential that it can offer to organizations?
Right. First of all, thank you for having me here. I think like for any other technology, right, and rather more big technology, it's an evolution, and what we have seen that a lot of times we directly want to jump to the use cases for consumer, right, and which is prerogative in terms of a lot of the factors, the different components of the technology, how the associated technologies come together, and the change of the consumer habits, right? If I just talk about Metaverse at this point of time, I mean, three broad areas which I believe we'll go. It starts with defense and aerospace, where the prerogative is more about saving lives. There's a huge investments about R&D, etc., which is happening, and we are seeing a lot of use cases coming around that. The second sector is around where we are seeing a huge leeway or usage of Metaverse into enterprises, right? About the manufacturing, about the digital twins, about the safety, right? And then comes the consumer. And consumer, in my view, is I think it's more of experimentation which is happening right now. But the future and the promise remains, because this can change everything. It's about infusing digital into your physical lives around it. So it is some time away. It's an evolution. A lot of things will depend upon as the evolution of the technology, right? How the devices will emerge, the interportability between the metaverse, how those things will happen, security, right? All these things will emerge. But there's a massive potential, and the usage is already visible across different industries, and I think we will talk about it as we progress.
Yes, absolutely. Praveen, before we get to use cases, just let's get you in on this as well. Your perspective on the true potential that the Metaverse presents, and how do you see it being leveraged best in your industry?
So clearly, as I think Manish said, it's still at an early stage, and if you compare with, let's say, the evolution of the mobile phone, right? So it is probably at that the mid-90s, late 90s stage that Metaverse is in today, and it's going to take time. It's possible it'll be faster than how the phone evolved, but we'll see that cycle. I think right now it was at the top of the hype cycle, and maybe it's falling down a bit. There are several technologies which are coming together, which are going to make this a compelling proposition going forward. Right, there is of course 5G, so bandwidth is critical to Metaverse. So with 5G getting deployed, that will be a key part to make Metaverse more of a reality. There's all devices, various types of devices, Oculus, there is HoloLens, and so on. Still a few of them, but evolving. Standards, particularly interoperability standards, which have to evolve in the industry. Today, it's still different players coming up with their own technologies, solutions.
and eventually some kind of standards and interoperability will evolve across all of these. I would say personalization is the other one. Avatars today are still very clunky. I mean, when you see most of it in gaming, it's not that evolved. But I think the whole personalization where avatars can get created, which are very lifelike and which resemble the person and will come into being at a affordable cost. And some of these are what will make the consumer proposition far more interesting than it is today. So that's how we see it. For our business specifically, I mean, the areas that we are looking at is one is, of course, from a brand building perspective. The other is maybe monetizing digital content by way of NFTs. And third is creating actually digital assets, digital wearables. I think those are three broad areas that we believe that there is relevance in from the context of our industry.
Sure. Are there any specific case studies you can share with us in your industry, in your organization, and what you see happening globally, actually?
Sure. I think one clear one, we recently did one event with Vanuzen. It was called When Chai Met Toast, in which we had a concert in the Metaverse, and it was a really brand building event, sponsored by Vanuzen, so to say. And it had good traction with a lot of the Gen Z. And I think that's the market that today most brands would be aspiring for. So this was one way of reaching out to that market, and creating awareness about the brand. And as part of that, we also experimented a bit with digital assets, as in digital wearables. You can have an avatar and you can buy merchandise, which is digital merchandise. So that's one we did very recently. I think it was considered to be one of the largest events in Metaverse in the last few months. The other is NFT. Of course, right now it is not very popular, but if you go back to 2021, there were talk about it being a $20 billion plus dollar market, and today the sales have gone down by maybe 90% with the whole cryptocurrency bust. But again, as a concept, it will evolve. Here, having digital content and having a way to share, sell digital content with some kind of an intellectual property linked to it, I think will evolve as the whole NFT space matures.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think there have been several companies internationally in the apparel space who have done a lot of work on Metaverse. And Nike clearly has been one of the leaders. They have been in various Metaverse platforms like Roadblocks, like Fortnite, where they have created digital assets, digital wearable assets, which people can buy. They're also looking at extending it to linking a physical shoe, for instance, to a digital shoe that you may acquire in the Metaverse, but actually then getting a customized product out to you. Yes. So I think those are the areas which it will still in experimentation, but they will develop. I think as the technology matures, many new ideas will come up of how to leverage it to reach out to your customers.
Absolutely. That's a great point, actually. Manish, let's get you in on this about, maybe you could also share some case studies that you've seen as significant developments. But then, yes, how can the industry look at leveraging what the Metaverse has to offer? And for example, interportability of different trends, products, and so on. How do you see that all sort of coming together moving forward?
Yeah, so I think the interportability, as Praveen is mentioning, right, there's a lot of buzz recently in terms of you can buy digital clothes, digital jewelry, right, because you all need to look good in your avatars when you are with your friends and colleagues. But the problem is that when you buy for a particular metaverse, you cannot able to use it for the other one. And at the price point is coming, it becomes insane to buy different jewelry and different clothes and different shoes for different aspects. So I think that's where interportability will need to play a very important role as a part of it. And as Praveen mentioned, it's an evolution. I see that it's integral for the success of this, right? And I think it will come. With regard to the use cases, what we are seeing for our clients, right? I'll give you some different use cases, right? Where we are working with one of the big capital manufacturer, where we have created a whole metaverse in terms of if there's a fire in the oil rig, what will you do at that point of time, right? And the intent is to train the people in that, right? Because you will not be able to mock up that scenario, but it's very important for the safety of the people, right? So we actually take the people into the oil rig, right, through the metaverse, and saying that how the fire, if there's a fire explosion, how will you evacuate, how will you save the elements and minimize the risk. So that's one. Secondly, with a very large consumer goods company, what we are trying in terms of how we can create a sort of an end-to-end supply chain center in the metaverse.
Yes.
So, and when I say end-to-end, which means that all the different functions of the supply chain, plan, source, make, deliver, logistics, all that people are within a room, right, in a metaverse, looking at the data which is on different screens and leveraging AI to meet the end objective as a part of it. That's another example, right, in terms of you can do that sitting in a room, sitting in a Teams call, but sitting together and looking at the data in three-dimensional aspect and deliberating and discussing there right away. It gives a different...
That's the differential factor.
Yeah. The other interesting work we are doing with Walt Disney, right, in terms of generating more content and mock-ups, leveraging digital twins. That's another thing which we are experimenting to create different spaces and experiences around that. So I think the examples are immense. I mean, I was mentioning to you, as Accenture, we have created a nth floor. I mean, you know our scale, 700,000 people globally, and 700,000 people, and every day we are onboarding, or every week we are onboarding thousands of people. Now, all these people are virtually, right? Can we onboard them together on the nth floor of Accenture? And that's a big unlock, because the people who are onboarding in India would have met people only in India, right? Now people in America, Latin America, China, they all can be nth floor together, and their orientation and all those things can happen. While they can all see in the teams, but what about doing a high five with your avatar in a Chinese this thing, right? I mean, so all these are different examples. We are experimenting with our clients, and clients are very excited in partnering and looking at how the value can be derived. So just a...
Yeah, fantastic. So in your experience when it comes to either your in-house feedback at Accenture or through your clients, what do you foresee as some of the roadblocks that are being faced at the moment? Interportability is one of them, as you've mentioned.
Yeah. So I think interportability is one. I think the biggest one is that you still need to wear a device, right? And the amount of time you can wear a device, because you need to be in that experience. And secondly, the cost of that device, because everybody is not, it's like at the time our parents or grandparents were not so accessible with the phones, right? Now it's become a necessity. So I think that's in my view, is one. Secondly, I think we need to get to an era where the facial expressions can be read by a device, right? Right now, as Praveen mentioned, that the avatars are there, they are more clunky, more cartoonist. But can we get to an era where our expressions can be read? Can we give really a more evolved experience to a consumer better than what they get at the store, right? If we get to that era, I think we will just convert the people who are just going there into the actual customer, from a potential to a customers. So that has to be security, because we all get into metaverse, we got enamored with that, but you will ultimately share everything, right? And so there has to be a trust, and the people should be confident of sharing that data, because it will not be intruded, it not be used in a particular manner. That's in my view the important aspect. And then connectivity as a part of it. 5G is coming around the corner, which I believe will give a immense this thing. And the last point, see, for metaverse, something like metaverse to work, it has to be a collaboration of different technologies, right? So something like generative AI, which is coming these days, and the power of metaverse and AI, I think this could be a deadly combination, of this. So we should not look at only the evolution of metaverse in standalone,
yes,
right? We should look at the evolution of all the different technologies which comes together as a part of it. So I think it's a matter of time. It will come there. I mean, I keep on saying that we always talk about omnichannel, right? But when we talk about omnichannel, we still believe that they do different channels. Ultimately, it's one channel at the end, right? It will be, and in my belief, Metaverse would be a part of that channel going forward.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Praveen, let's get you in on this. Same perspective, your views on any roadblocks that are there at the moment, and as Manish has mentioned, how can the Metaverse sort of encompass this omni-channel existence, bringing all the new and emerging technologies together in one?
So I think we should look at it as that this is one more way of creating an experience for a consumer, right? And it's probably going to be far more an immersive experience than a phone is today, or or a website is or was 10, 15 years back. So today, for instance, one of our brands, we are creating a store in the Metaverse where customers can browse through merchandise in a Metaverse-like experience, and then put it into a basket and move to shopping, right? Which will take them and actually deliver a product back to them as well. So this becomes one more way that you can have tomorrow pretty much any kind of experience that you want to put out there. And if it's far more immersive and easy than it is today, headset, as Manish mentioned, bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
Once these things get more mature and easier to use, cheaper to use, customers may very well switch from their phones to using Metaverse devices for their daily use, right? So the way today people are so used to doing commerce on a phone, that could very well be tomorrow on a Metaverse device. Right. So that's how we see it evolving. I think that's, let's say, peeking into the future. How long it will take, it's anybody's guess. I think a lot of these technologies have to mature. Consumer habits have to change, which take a long time. But as with most technologies, we have seen it takes a long time for that critical mass to build. But once that builds, then the adoption is very, very fast. And I think that's probably what we are likely to see in this technology as well.
Expecting. Great. Yeah. Well, Manish, tell us a little bit about your perspective on the stakeholders through the journey of the evolution of the Metaverse. There's going to be a wide range of stakeholders, really. How can organizations approach this? What is the definition, really, of the value to the various stakeholders?
The evolution will depend upon the use cases, right? And so it is more brand building. So we will bring in more the marketing, the brand people, and then they have to do a customer segmentation, because it's anybody's guess, millennials will be the first to hop into this. So that's more on the marketing, on the consumer side. Also, I mean, if we look at it, right, in terms of one of the retailers in India I've seen, they have not tried Metaverse, but you can actually through their website talk to the person in the executive in the store, right? That's a new era, right, in terms of our ability, and imagine that is happening without Metaverse, right? So that's I think use cases are being driven. If I talk about enterprise manufacturing, safety, I believe the biggest use case is safety, because if you can emulate, I mean, we are working for our clients where if a person is walking into an area which is hazardous, his or her supervisor, colleague supervisor will get an intimation that there is a potential risk and that needs to be mitigated on that. So I think these are the evolutions. Manufacturing is a big play for the large industrial clients. Again, they need to simulate in terms of and in the scenario where the new products needs to be introduced. So how through digital twin I am seeing not only in the feedback mechanism but also in the R&D cycle, how can I ensure that all these inputs can be taken. So I think that's where most of the energies are being set right now as a part of it. And obviously there are there are people who will adapt it more. In fact, one of the clients we were working on a different technology, and they took a very interesting approach. They introduced a new program, and they gave iPads only to the young people, right? And they deliberately did not give to the old people in the organization. And when they start carrying it up, because the assumption was that the old people will actually not use it. The old people actually came back, not old, mature people came back and saying that, what's the problem with me, right? Why you have not given this? And they created a pull through that. So it was, rather than pushing it and saying that you have to use it, they created anxiety that why the hell FOMO, why I have not got it. And then they came back and then they actually participate in the training session saying that we really want it because it is changing the life. So I think these are, we can bring in, but the younger generation, the more enthusiastic people would be the forerunners in order to picking it up as we progress.
Absolutely. Praveen, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think gaming has been clearly what has real starting point in a way for Metaverse, right? And that's getting better and better. And I think we'll see a lot of that coming from how various kinds of gaming technologies evolve. So today, again, we'll probably see 2-3 types of players in this, right? There are players like us or other consumer companies who will use it to reach out to their brands. There's one other case on creating digital content, monetizing it. Even companies like yours who are media companies would look at those use cases. And then there will be the born in Metaverse companies, right? Who will actually think of ideas which we can't think of today.
That's right.
Today the only ones we are talking about is digital assets, which wearables on your avatar and all. But that's only probably what we are imagining today. There could be a lot more. In fact, there was a serial recently I saw called Upload, which created an entire afterlife for a person after death. Imagine an afterlife for a person after death in a Metaverse, right? So those are the kind of cases which may evolve in future, who knows. So.
Absolutely. Yes, of course, the potential is limitless. And well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing all of this. Before we wrap up, I would like to ask, just sort of on a closing note, for the coming year or say the next 2-3 years ahead, from your point of view, each of you, from your organizations, what is the kind of focus that you will be putting into the Metaverse and everything it has to offer, and the investments as well that you're looking to make at this time?
I think currently in the near future we see it more experimental. Like I said, we did with one brand we tried out a Metaverse brand building experience, reaching out to a certain target segment. In another case, we are creating an experience where an online shopping is through a Metaverse-like experience. Right? NFTs is the other one. One of our brands did create their designs, their content, and created NFTs out of it, which they monetized as well. So it's still experimental, and maybe selling merchandise. We are today not selling merchandise, but we are giving away merchandise, digital merchandise on Metaverse platforms. So we'll, experiment with that. So I think in near future, it's still experimental, and we have to see how it will evolve and then take it from there.
Sure, absolutely. Manish, same for you. The kind of focus you'll be putting on the Metaverse and the investments that you're looking at.
See, we are we are technology evangelists as we are. So we are continuously on the thinking and the research on this. So even last year in 2022, we every year we release a technology vision, and which is due for us end of this month, and it was all around Metaverse, right? So we have been thinking through around this. We are massively investing along with Microsoft, along with WEF, in order to look at use cases and the evolution around for different industries, because that's the focus. And we also working on different technologies, how as we mentioned about roadblocks, how those roadblocks can be eradicated. So absolutely, it's a focus. And as I mentioned, some industries, the use cases here and now. In some industries, it is more experimentation, but the future is not very far away.
Yes.
So absolutely a big focus for us, and we have created a separate group to invest and to inspire our clients and also work with them to create the new future.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And really, gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to understand and get all your insights into the metaverse and the future moving ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
Thank you. Well, that's all we have for you on this edition, but for more such insightful conversations, do stay tuned to ET Studios. Until next time, many thanks for watching.